morning. The Lord is risen. And in our gospel this morning, Jesus appears to the disciples and discloses a strategy. Encounter me, discern my presence, feast together, and then go out and tend to God's family. So, I was just wondering, might this be a very general agenda for a vestry meeting? Although I've never been to a SAGE's vestry meeting, I do imagine there's probably an opening prayer, a moment to call to mind the presence of Jesus, followed by feasting, because it is St. Gregory's, so I'm sure there's food, probably a pretty good spread.
Only if Sissy's there.
Okay, see? And then they set to work to figure out how best to create a space, a church, for us to know Jesus, to feast, and to go out and care for our neighbors. It's actually the same model as Sunday mornings. Encounter, feast, and go out. It's actually also the model for our human life. We need to be influenced by Jesus, feast in friendship, and thus nourished, go out to do the work of feeding and tending. And in so doing, we become embodied sacraments. The groundbreaking work of Father Edward Skilobex, one of the great Christian theologians, was to claim that people are sacraments too. Historically, the church defined the sacrament as, any old Catholics here? An outward and visible sign of an inward and invisible grace. A sign brought forth from a ritual or an object. Our Book of Common Prayer says sacraments are patterns of countless ways by which God uses material things to reach out to us. Skilobex agrees. Sacraments are the carriers of God's love, but goes further to assert that sacraments are the creative and saving presence of God's grace wherever human persons minister to one another, especially to the neighbor in need. Human love is an embodiment, a sacrament of God's love. We have the capacity to be sacraments to one another. Jesus tells us today how to convey love by tending and feeding. Thereby, we become sacraments to one another. We make the presence of God known to one another. Make God's love concrete. We are the sacramental presence of Jesus in the world. Vehicles, channels, beacons of God's grace. Yet, to be so, we need to be followers of Jesus, to hear and to heed Jesus, to be guided by Jesus, but not, as some promote, to bring on material blessings. The disciples in this gospel do as Jesus, I guess in disguise, suggests. Cast your nets on the other side, he offers. When they heed him, the catch is too big for them to even haul in. Wow, abundance beyond measure. Is that the reward for encountering and following Jesus? Not exactly. Jesus does offer advice to the disciples, and they take it, but the results come not as a perk from Jesus, nor as a reward for their faith, but from their hard work as fishermen. The enormous haul is not a reward or a prize, nor is it inevitable, automatic, or magic, which is kind of a bummer. For instant or low stakes abundance is very seductive, honestly. But oddly, however, or ironically, chasing abundance is actually shrinking us. Abundant sugar, abundant goods in abundant strip malls, abundant news sources, abundant convenience and efficiency. I am distraught when I see, as frankly I often do, and you probably do too, work of the people being done by machines. I went to a lab for a test, and there was no one in the lobby. There were 2 check-in counters, empty, like abandoned. Instead, there was a machine into which I could input all my info, which would take a photo of my driver's license and my insurance cards. And then a door opened, and a person appeared to actually perform the test. But I gather that this machine reader technology provides abundance to someone. The lab perhaps has more profits as salaries are significantly less. We gain a surfeit of time as we no longer wait to check in. The thinking more is always better, I fear, leads us not to abundance, but deprivation. Where do those previously employed receptionists work? What will happen to us as face-to-face greetings become more and more rare? And if, as promised, technology provides us with more time, what are we doing with it? Is it even noticeable? I'm wondering if we are in danger of confusing or even conflating real life with its distorted mirror image instrumentalism, wherein all of our life is no more than a tool or an instrument for us to use for our own gain. Relationships need to be working for us. Friendships are contacts to move us ahead. People are commodities, buyers and sellers. Abundance pursued at any cost, using every human being and every natural resource as the means to achieve it. But our real life is not in those terms or on those terms. Our real life is with the author and sustainer of all life, God. And God does not deal in rewards, incentives, or prizes. Our God is all about free, unmerited gifts. However, to obtain the blessing inherent in faithful living, we do need to listen, follow, and conform. Jesus teaches us that we are permanently, dearly, deeply, fiercely loved. And our response is to answer the call and discover the blessings in that. The blessings of love are not rewards. They're echoes. Love given, received, given again, received again. This morning, after we worship, we are invited to gather together to feast and then consider how can we tend this holy property as stewards as shepherds, guided by love, and with a responsibility to love actively and wisely. How can we use these holy, beloved spaces more fully, more neighborly? Should our campus be put to more dynamic use? Can we hear Jesus call? Look on the other side. See differently. Discern a call to a repurposed vision. We carry the means to be sacraments, to be channels of divine love and grace. Through our divinely inspired imagination, we wonder together, how shall we love this campus of St. Gregory's? Come and see and feast, tend and cultivate. That is the way. Thanks be to God. Amen.